Hey everybody, Mark Adams here. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Rock-u-mentary, my journey with the Magic Bus for the October 1st and 2nd shows in 2021. This episode focuses on the learning process, how I went about learning to play, learning to get ready for these gigs. And the reason I bring this up, I was thinking about this topic, is uh, a lot of musicians out there play shows. They play, for various things. But the sheer amount of songs to learn in a short amount of time, as I mentioned, I had about a month to learn over 40 songs. I don't do that all that often. A lot of people don't. So this is my process. How I went about it. I talked to Nathan Medawar, Dan's son, who's a great drummer and has sat in for Magic Bus as well. And I said, hey, what'd you do to learn all these tunes? And because he, same thing, had to learn them in a short amount of time. And he just said, just keep going through them, listen over and over and over. An kind of obvious thing, but to him, he cued in on some of the lyrics in certain parts that would then tend to take you to a bridge or take you to a hook or whatever. So everyone has their way to do this, and I just thought I'd step you through mine. So there's no right or wrong as long as you can figure out how to do it. So following here is kind of my process for getting ready for all this. So thanks again for joining. So the list of songs Dan sent me started out to be about 50 songs, something like that. Dan said, I'll send you all the major ones that we do, and if you learn all that, you'll pretty much be good to go. So that proved to be true. We whittled down, a few songs got cut here and there as they shaped up the set list. Their female vocalist Melissa Wixon, couldn't make the trip down, so a number of songs that she is featured on, a number of those were cut. And so, we ended up with a little over 40 songs. We did a 2-hour show and a 3-hour show, so that, fills it up. So a lot of, I'll show you the set list here, the song lists, and some great tunes, of course. And as I mentioned, they're not terribly tricky by drum standards. And some of them I knew already for the most part, so I didn't really have to study them per se. But some songs have hooks, and they all have hooks and breaks and stops and things like that. And so even though they're not tricky like some prog rock or jazz fusion, which I love to play that kind of stuff, odd timings and whatnot. That stuff isn't in there, but there are parts that you need to learn, like the Time of the Season by the Zombies that has that doo 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 doo. So it's a pattern that you have to play to make that song come off, and not tricky again, but so you go through these songs and you kind of figure out those patterns and things that you need to maybe brush up on or learn or just to get the feel of the song. And then, you're trying to make it your own at the same point, not doing too much. I like to do, a number of songs. I have some covers I've done, and some originals, of course, where, very odd timings, and I love to do that as drummers, a lot of drummers do. Um, but that doing that on these songs wouldn't work. So you need to kind of find a balance between honoring the song and the parts that they play, and then throwing in some of your own stuff as everybody does, because that's the fun of it, is making it your own. Uh, so I'll go through the process here. So one thing I did right off the bat, I started thinking of, how can I learn these songs that I really don't know or haven't played to before? And a method I've used before for learning songs is to kind of write out a little notation, some drum notation. It's not full notation by any means, and I didn't need anything like that. But I've done this. I'll show you a picture of kind of my shorthand version of notation, and I did it for the first song, Magical Mystery Tour, the Beatles. Again, even though I've heard that song, I hadn't really played to it, and there's a kind of break at the end that the band does, so I wanted to learn that. And then, of course, the second song is a medley. It has a number of songs in it, and they kind of weave in and out. So I wanted to chart that out to get that down. And especially for that second song, that helped me to learn it. Just writing it out a lot of times helps you to learn. And I've done this for shows before when it's something that comes up and I don't have a lot of time and I need something quick to look at. But of course, I didn't want this on the stage, so it was just a method to kind of get it in my head. And it wasn't long before I kind of scrapped that because I thought there's no way I'm charting out 40 something songs this way. And of course, I didn't need a lot of them. I didn't need, but it's just super time consuming. I didn't have a lot of time, um, we kind of forged ahead. I forged ahead and just started playing to all of them. And Dan and I got together at each other's houses, and we would just kind of go through the songs one at a time and play to them. And Dan would say, "Hey, here we do this a little different. We do this. Here, this is." Kind of a drum pattern that the other guys are doing, or whatever. Just little cues. So I would go through and I'll show you. I just kind of wrote some brief notes on each tune that I needed to. Some weren't necessary, and that really helped just to highlight some special things. And then of course I got songs from Dan. He gave me some MP3s, which really helped all the live shows that the Magic Bus has done over the years. The songs are slightly different here and there, but being able to play to what they did really helped a lot. So all that stuff combined, then what I ended up doing just to give myself a little something to kind of because of again the sheer amount of songs and to be able to get in a flow from song to song, I took the set list and I went into Excel and I just put the name of each song, kind of the meter, um, who started it off. That's obviously a big thing. The keyboard might have a fill that starts it. It might be guitar. It might be the drummer that starts it. There's some narration sometimes. And when you're going back to back to back like that, at least for me, I could get stuck, and I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure I was ready. So I did that. I kind of blocked out certain songs. I would kind of block out if I wasn't as familiar with them. Verse, verse, bridge, break, blah, 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 and then endings and, just anything special. But it was just real minimal, but enough for me to have something to just kind of glance at. So then when we're playing, I actually had a little iPad there sitting down with that Excel document there, and I could just kind of glance down and say, okay, this one's coming up. I start it. Yep. Okay. Good to go. And that proved to just be a real good tool for that. And then just sheer repetition, like Nathan said, just play over and over and over. And before long, you start to one song leads to another. I'm listening put them all on my phone. So at work, I'm listening to them while I'm working and come home and practice a little bit and, in the car and just over and over and over. So be curious to see, how some of you guys do that. So, post comments down here, post your questions, of course, throughout all these videos, any questions you come up with. And I'll do an episode later on where I address all this stuff and I love to see how you guys do it and your process. So thanks. So now for the drums themselves, key element, obviously. I have my Pearl Masters custom kit over here. I got it a number of years ago, and I got it with the intent of having more drums so I could play to to Rush, among other groups. Always been a huge fan of Neil Peart, and one of my instructors, kind of growing up, learning how to play. And Dan and I play a number of Rush songs, so wanted to get a bigger kit. This is a 7-piece, and I have rototoms and things that aren't set up right now. I don't really need them anymore, but at any rate, it's great having a big kit like that to play when you need them. But for these songs, I didn't need as many toms, and frankly, moving into the show, Dan and I carpooled, and we had minimum amount of room, so I pared down to a 4-piece kit, which I'm used to playing a 5-piece kit at least. 2 ride toms, a floor tom, a snare, and bass drum. And so, I have patented, like everybody, you kind of have your fills and your go-to things, and you're just used to playing comfortably on your own kit. And, 4-piece for me was a challenge just because I don't usually, other than sitting in on someone's kit or something, I don't practice on that. So I had to take my tom out, have my snare, my tom up here, I'm on a floor tom, ride kind of in here, and I had to kind of go over how am I going to do fills that I normally do, with what I have, which again was a cool challenge, and it was fun to figure all that out. And I also, cymbal wise, I have little splashes and a china back there. It's one of Neil's signature chinas, but again, don't use that in the gig. So I ended up with a 14 crash, a 17 crash, and a ride as well, and then hi-hats, of course. But pared down from that, I have a really neat crash. It's an HHX, kind of gongish in a way, but thin sounding. It's really cool. I fell in love with it when I hit it at Guitar Center, so I had to buy it. It's great, but that sound just really doesn't fit with the sound of these songs. So again, just kind of looking at the whole thing and saying, okay, here's what's going to work. So that was kind of interesting to do, and to get ready for all that. So that's what I ended up with, this 4-piece kit, and then went about, of course, learning the songs. And one of the challenges that I didn't realize was just playing that many songs back to back. I got fatigued. I play almost every day, but I do song arrangements and things like that. So a lot of times it's a little bit of drums, a little keyboards, some vocals, and kind of shuffling around. It's not solid 2-3 hours of playing. So when I started working on these, the next day my hands were sore, my forearms, and a little wrist ache that I kind of had to work through, and my back gets stiff, and just being older and not playing it as much does that to you. So I had to really work on just a few tunes at a time. Kind of the next day, assess things. Okay, build up to a few more, and it's kind of like working out, right? You can't just bench 300 pounds at once or something. You have to. Well, I can't do that anyway, but have to work up to it. You have to get yourself ready. And when I was younger, it was just kind of there. I didn't really think about it, but now that I'm older, it was something that was a challenge again. So cool getting to that. Eventually got to that where it wasn't any big deal at all, and played the shows, and they were fine. So, but again, something else I had to get ready for. So here we are now to the first band rehearsal, the Monday before the first gig. Uh, a lot of pressure I kind of felt on myself to make sure that I was ready, and just anxious to meet the guys and play through the songs on my own and all that. So a lot of energy and excitement going into that rehearsal. So I have a little video I took with Dan on the way to the rehearsal. So check this out. Hey, so this is Mark Adams. I'm here with my best bud, Dan Medawar.
Peace, man.
In the Magic Bus group. And Dan's asked me to sit in with the band for a couple gigs down south in Cincinnati and Tennessee. on drums.
It's gonna rock.
Yeah. So a lot of cool tunes to learn. And tonight's our first rehearsal, and we get ready to go on Friday here to the gigs. So just thought I'd check in and say hey to everybody, and we'll see you at the gig.
Peace.
Right on. So rehearsal went well. The guys were great, gracious, and patient. A few tips and notes here and there that I took, but we got through all the tunes. I think it was like a 5 hour rehearsal or something, but we forged ahead through all the stuff, and everything went really well. And they were happy. I was happy. We had a gel, kind of instant gel. Guys were so cool. We were over at Mike Bruner's house. Um, Fantastic house and setup, and just really neat experience to get ready for it. So that evening was great. I felt good coming out of it and ready mentally for the gig coming up. Uh, so those are kind of the things I wanted to go through in this. So thanks for checking it out. And again, post any questions you have. I may have missed some things that you're wondering about. So by all means, post some questions, and I will combine them all together and have a final episode where I address all these things. All right. Thanks again, and tune in for episode 3 of the Magic Bus Rock-u-mentary. Thanks. Peace, guys.